Meanwhile, let's get some bold predictions as Week 8 of the NFL season begins tonight. Taylor Lewan, give me a bold prediction.
Yeah, everybody wants to talk about the Philadelphia Eagles and how they're getting a revenge game 2 times in 3 weeks versus the Giants. I'm here to tell you that Jackson Dart and
Cam Scatterbo.
The creatine Caucasians are going to do it again. They're making plays. 75% of that game versus the Denver Broncos was absolutely beautiful. They're going to do it for all 60 minutes this weekend.
Picking them to win it again. Wow. All right, we'll talk about that one as we go. Will, give me a bold prediction for Week 8.
Drake May against the Cleveland Browns will throw for 300 yards for the first time this season and cement himself into the MVP conversation. Listen to this stat, boys. On throws over 30 yards, the NFL average, the completion percentage is 40%. With Drake May, he's 23 of 30 for 70%.
That's big numbers right there.
That's big numbers, Danny O.
Tough defense in Cleveland, Will.
He's got the right coach. Yeah, tough. Going up against a tough team. All right, we'll talk about that game. Danny, give me a bold prediction.
Yeah, Bears get to 5-2 and end the Ravens season, and it's because of their defense. In this 4-game win streak, the Bears are 43-7, outscoring their opponents in takeaways. This is the number 1 defense in the NFL in takeaways. They have as many picks this year as they did last year. Everyone talks to Ben Johnson and their offense and Caleb Williams. They're riding because of their run game and their defense, and they're going to win again, get to 5-2, get into the playoff conversation in Chicago.
And Schefty will tell you shortly whether or not we expect to see Lamar Jackson in that game. Meanwhile, Hawk, give me a bold prediction.
Yeah, give me a hat-trick sack game for Micah Parsons. That is 3 sacks, Dan, in case you're wondering. Their tackles for the Pittsburgh Steelers are 61 and 68 out of 69 tackles in pass block win rate. LaFleur said Rodgers looks mobile for his age, but it ain't going to be mobile enough for Michael.
Well, that's obviously the game of the weekend. It's a grudge match, decades in the making. Here was Aaron talking about this revenge game against his longtime team, Green Bay.
I don't have any animosity toward the organization. Obviously, I wish that, things have been better in our last year there, but I have a great relationship with a lot of people still in that organization, and this is not a revenge game for me. I'm just excited to see some of those guys and be on Sunday Night Football again.
Okay, revenge is an interesting word, which is to say that you can parse that a lot of different ways. There's no way in the world this is just another game for him, right?
Right.
I mean, you played in the league forever. You played against teams. You played with guys who were playing against their former teams. For Aaron Rodgers, this is obviously much more than just another game.
Yeah, and everybody around him knows that as well. His teammates are fully understanding that Aaron Rodgers, if he's able to beat the Green Bay Packers, he's one of 5 quarterbacks that were able to beat all 32 teams. It means a lot to him, but it also means a lot to the guys around him to rally around. Seeing the last couple of years, the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs, this means so much for him, but his team understands it as well. They're going to take it to a whole new level this week.
Schefty, as far as the Rodgers side of this is concerned and everything else with Pittsburgh, I mean, we're watching him, we're watching them. What are your thoughts as he gets set to go against Green Bay?
Look, we've seen all the great quarterbacks go up against their former teams. We saw Peyton Manning go up against the Colts, Tom Brady go up against the Patriots. Now we're going to get to go see Aaron Rodgers go up against the Green Bay Packers. I think, yes, it will be personal to a certain extent, but it's also an important game for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who lost last week to Cincinnati, have the Baltimore Ravens coming off their bye this week with a friendly second-half schedule with 2 games against the Steelers. So, yes, of course, it could be a personal thing, but more important for the Steelers to get back on track to make sure that they're in front in the AFC North.
It's actually harder playing against your former team when you don't have any animosity, because you're trying to drum up this competitive nature. And if I hated you, or I had it ended in a way that I wasn't happy with, extremely unhappy, it's easier to look at you as a competitor. It's harder to be like, these are friends. These are people I know. Him and Love have a good relationship.
Right.
It's not like Rodgers and Favre, which made it easy. I wish these guys hated each other more, actually.
Let's not. Look, let's not pretend we don't remember how this actually ended.
Yeah, good point.
He may have mellowed over this. Look, spending 2 years with the Jets will make you realize how much better anything previously had been. I understand how that might have changed his perspective on this a little bit. Let's not pretend he walked out of there happy with everybody.
Yeah,
this game is a revenge game, whether he wants to say it or not. That said, Dan Orlovsky is here to tell us that Aaron Rodgers is not the most important player on the field on Sunday night. Who is?
Micah Parsons. You got to block Micah Parsons. You got to treat Micah the way you treated Myles Garrett. Aaron gets the ball out basically faster than any quarterback in the NFL. Micah wins quicker than any lineman in the NFL. Aaron's going to have to play at about less than 3 seconds. There's Micah. How quickly does he win to get to the quarterback? 3.2 to get him on the ground. He contacts him at 2.6, 2.7. Here's the challenge. If you have Micah by himself, good luck. If you double team Micah Parsons and you take your left guard and left tackle, then everybody else is singled up. And that's the thing with this Packers pass rush, is someone else can then, when Rashawn Gary could be the benefactor of, the Pittsburgh Steelers going, Micah Parsons not going to ruin this game, and then Aaron Rodgers is going to get hunted. If Aaron doesn't get the ball out of his hands in about 2.5 seconds, Micah's going to have a field day, and that's going to be the challenge. If Micah doesn't get to Aaron in about 2.5 seconds, they're going to mitigate his impact as much as possible. This game will come down to how well Pittsburgh handles Micah Parsons and how quickly Micah Parsons gets to the quarterback.
And Aaron Rodgers is playing better. We would be remiss if we didn't mention that, because earlier in the season we talked about him being unsettled in the pocket. None of that is showing on film. What they actually need is some help at the wide receiver. Schefty, I know you talked about them being in that market, but like Calvin Austin will be back. They need something outside of DK Metcalf because it's not enough on the edge.
If they're throwing the ball, their tight ends an awful lot. But as Hembo pointed out, their wide receivers are averaging 6.3 catches per game. There are wide receivers across the league who come up with more than that in one game by themselves. Puka Nacua regularly, Jackson, Smith, and Jigba. Pittsburgh could use more help on the outside. They're getting help from tight ends. They're getting help from DK Metcalf, who's making plays. They're getting the run game going.
Are they interested in wide receivers?
I think they're going to be looking around, and if there's a deal to be had, I think they'd be interested.
Do a little window shopping.
Yeah,
Window shopping, see around there a little bit.
When you're in first place, usually window shopping.
Maybe they could trade for George Pickens. I don't know. I mean, I don't even know. A lot of weird things happen. I mean, the Dallas Cowboys right now, the one guy they could really use is Micah Parsons. Who knows how good they would be? The Pittsburgh Steelers, the one guy they could really use is George Pickens. Who knows how good they would be? How about that whole side of it? There's no way in the world, if you watched the game between Green Bay and Arizona last week, which we all did in that crazy late window on Sunday afternoon, they don't win that game without Micah Parsons, right? He has made himself the most important player on that team this fast.
100%. And Pittsburgh's going to have to win at explosive plays. And unfortunately, Green Bay is I think second in the league at not allowing explosive plays. Because when I look at this game, it's going to have to be, if you're going to win with Pittsburgh, it's going to have to be similar to the Cowboys versus the Packers, where I believe Aaron Rodgers is going to have like 300 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. They're going to have to, have a lot of offense, because Steelers defense, once again, they got away from what they were doing the previous 2 weeks, and they're looking like they were in those first 4 weeks where they're not playing very well defensively. Guys running wide open. And I do think the Packers are going to take advantage of this, underperforming, underwhelming Steelers defense.
Well, that's really the story here. Matt, we could put the picks up on the screen at some point, make our first picks of the weekend. We're split on this game. The story here, look, we all want to make this about Micah because he's a superstar. We want to make it about Rodgers because he's playing his former team. Dan, to me, and I made this point earlier this week, the biggest story here is that the Steelers defense is the most disappointing unit in the entire league. They get paid $1 trillion. They're supposed to be carrying a 41, soon-to-be 42-year-old quarterback back to glory. Instead, he's dragging them along with everything he has. He's more than holding up his end. The Pittsburgh defense has been extremely disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, last Thursday night, they were as disappointing as any team that we've seen in football. I think the biggest thing for the Steelers is, their run defense, they stand up all game. They're so easy to push around. And then, watching this game last Thursday night, it was like defensively, they were trying to trick Joe Flacco so much they tricked themselves. And that's how the receivers got so, they were trying to rotate coverages and send things to the offense that no one ever seen. So I think, specifically to this game with Pittsburgh's defense, they're at a disadvantage because Green Bay can put 2 tight ends on the field and run the football. This run defense in Pittsburgh, when you put 2 tight ends on the field, stinks. And so if they don't start to get lower against the run, watch in this game. Watch Pittsburgh's front defensive line. You'll see before the snap, you can't see their numbers. After snap, you can see their numbers. They stand straight up. If you do that versus LaFleur and Josh Jacobs and Tucker Kraft and those tight ends, they'll run for 200 yards.
Yeah, we'll see. I'd love to see the picks on the screen for the Steelers. I'd like to see Aaron win this game, but I think this is a very tough spot for him. I think Green Bay scores points in this game. What is going on with Lamar Jackson? Should we expect him to play against the Bears on Sunday?
Greeny, the encouraging part was he was back at practice yesterday, but he came out 20 minutes late, and the Ravens still don't know if he's going to be healthy enough for that hamstring injury to be able to play Sunday against the Chicago Bears. They should have a better idea today, another full practice if he gets out there and works and his hamstring holds up. Again, encouraging he's back, but they're not ready to commit to him starting Sunday just yet.
Man, how about Jaden Daniels?
Not going to play on Monday night. It's going to be Marcus Mariota in Kansas City, which Taylor Lewan knows how that sometimes can go.
Can go really
better
well.
than people think. Exactly. Marcus Mariota steps in, but Jaden Daniels has that hamstring injury. And look what Lamar Jackson just missed. He missed 2 games to bye, and they still don't know whether he's back 3 weeks later. Jaden Daniels might be on a similar timeline, which could derail Washington's season.
And then we got A.J. Brown.
Well, it's always A.J. Brown, Greeny, right? We always talk about A.J. Brown. He's become the human version of the Dallas Cowboys with all sorts of sayings. Did not practice yesterday due to a hamstring injury. His status is up in the air for Sunday's rematch against the Giants, who beat the Eagles 2 weeks ago. They need A.J. Brown. He finished the game, so you'd have to think he's out there, but you never like to see wide receivers and hamstring injuries on the injury report on Wednesday.
No, I mean, everything about this is just weird, right? Like, man, there's things about it that just don't feel right. He has the big game, then he has the cryptic post, then all of a sudden he's not practicing. He's got a hamstring, but he finished the game. We know he finished the game because he makes the enormous catch on the sluggo on the huge third down conversion to to win the game, to end the game. Yeah, I know, they used the word sluggo here, and I was very proud of myself that I knew what it meant. So the point is, this is where, and I've never met A.J. Brown in my life, but this is where he starts to lose me. Because you talk about how selfless he is, and he is. When they were running the ball like crazy and winning by running the ball like crazy, and he's a great receiver, he's willing to step back. But the guy had 121 yards and 2 touchdowns on Sunday and is still posting stuff that gives him plausible deniability. What is going on with him?
The posts aren't cryptic. They're just written in a language you haven't made clear yet.
Tell him.
So, I mean, is that the way you wide receivers talk? Am I supposed to understand what you're saying now? Like, I don't understand what he's saying. I don't understand what you're saying.
Yeah. He who searches for happiness mistakes every step as a detour.
Okay. We'll come back to you.
Couldn't be more clear.
Brandon, can you roll him out of here, please? I'm trying to make some sense of this. Can you make some sense of this? I mean, if you're on that team right now, and you guys finally get a big win and everything seems to finally be going back your way, and now all of a sudden the wide receiver is posting cryptic tweets, like, is this a problem if you're an offensive tackle?
If I'm an offensive tackle, yeah, it frustrates me, but as a true offensive lineman, I'm ninja smoking. I'm getting back in the shadows and just trying to do my job because I know that Saquon Barkley's rushed for about 3.1 yards per carry versus the Vikings, and I know that I have a whole lot of work to do, so it's very difficult for me to go point fingers at A.J. Brown.
I mean, Dan, did we see, so whatever is going on with him, I don't know. And
I don't have enough time to try to decipher the A.J. Brown stuff.
Yeah.
Well, I just think it seems like, from all these posts, it seems like he's trying to send a message. It seems like he might not be altogether happy in Philadelphia. It seems like he's got certain issues that are going on that he's hinting at, but nobody knows exactly what they are other than maybe him. And so there are issues that are out there, clearly.
Look, when we're parsing the definition of the word meeting, you know we've gotten to a weird place. Did we have a meeting? Well, I don't know. What exactly constitutes a meeting? I'm not having that conversation either. So let's talk about this. Did we see a changing of the guard, if you will, in this Eagles offense? Last year they won the Super Bowl because Saquon Barkley. This year, Saquon Barkley has not gotten going. He doesn't have a 100-yard game yet. Devontae Smith went nuts last week. A.J. Brown went nuts last week. If the Eagles are going to repeat, is it going to be that?
No. They got to run the football. This team can't win a Super Bowl the way they're running the football.
No.
They can't. They can win games. They can beat good teams, but they cannot run the football the way they've run the football. My question coming off of last week is what we saw offensively last week, who you're going to be for the rest of the season. I've been begging this team to put the quarterback under center, run a little bit of play action. They did that last week. They put a 6th offensive lineman out on the field. 4 completions for Jalen from underneath the center last week. I think went for like 120 yards. He had 5 up until that point for the whole season, the whole year. And so I loved that asterisk or that change up, that curveball. Are they going to continue to do it? That's good. But they cannot win the Super Bowl with where they're running the football right now.
That could be the raindrop that starts the flood for the Eagles offense because they had trouble still running the football, but the Vikings dared them to pass it. And Jalen stepped up in a big way, even in the broken play that went for a touchdown to A.J. Brown.
Yeah. But here's my thing, Hawk.
He sits in the pocket, though,
they can
and
play
keeps his
better.
eyes down the field. They absolutely can.
They can play better offensively, yes. They're not. If they can't run the football better, they ain't beating Detroit. They're not beating Tampa when they're healthy. They're not beating Seattle.
Right.
They're not beating the Rams.
But
they're just not gonna.
Here's why that's like a work in progress. Because they have not shown the ability to throw the football the way they did against the Vikings. So defenses are stacking the box. They're saying, hey, one thing you're not going to beat us doing is giving the ball to Saquon Barkley. If they can be consistent in the way that Jalen played with Smith and A.J. Brown, which is, again, it wasn't scripted all the time, in the A.J. Brown touchdown, but he sits in the pocket, keeps his eyes down the field. He's decisive. He's scrambling to make plays. If he can continue to do that, they're going to have to respect it, which should open up the run game.
So, Matt, if you could put the picks up on the screen, and again, we had the big prediction of the upset, another upset, and I can't believe that the number is not bigger than it is in this game, but either way, it sounds to me like they're saying that it's a chicken and egg thing, right? I mean, that's what I'm asking you, Teller, as an offensive lineman.
Well, no, I love the fact that Dan's talking about them going under center. That needs to be like the start, their foundation, like week one type of install things where they're under center. You can put your back to the defense because it makes the defense wonder a little more. It makes the linebackers come up, which makes those throws over the middle. It's less predictable. But you can't run the football. If your passing game gets better, you usually think, okay, now our run game will be better because more guys are out of it. But offensive linemen and tight ends, when they're in blocking, they're missing their blocks.
Correct.
And it's one guy here and there. Yeah. So you can be able to throw the ball for a million yards, but if you can't have guys just get Saquon Barkley to the line of scrimmage, then you're not going to be successful. So when I see Jalen Hurts and he has a better game through the air, it's the same plays, the same things are happening. It's just when he's scrambling outside the pocket, instead of looking to run first, he's just keeping his eyes downfield a little bit more.
I want to see how much they're going to change the offense. So, like, I'm intrigued by it. I'm encouraged by it. The run game, here's my thing with the run game. And the two tackles are elite players.
Yeah.
They're not playing up to their standard.
They're not.
Like, we could be honest about that. The center is not playing well in the run game. So the run game, there's moments where it's predictable. We've talked about that ad nauseum. Then they're also just getting beat. So they have to figure out how can they help those guys play better and be less predictable?
Yeah, and you look at the offensive line, you're talking about those two tackles. It's not just the tackles, it's the interior three as well. When they're fanning out, and there's a linebacker on the line of scrimmage, they're not helping their guy. Either those blocks are hard, but you have to help your guard on your way because the guy who's slamming into that big gap, he's more dangerous.
One-on-one.
But you're leaving Landon Dickerson out on an island, and now he's getting penetration in that gap, stopping that play.
The Eagles are a 7.5-point favorite, by the way. I just, out of the corner of my eye, looked at the screen, and I thought that was saying Giants plus 2.5. And I thought, boy, that's a very slim line.